All right, so welcome to your digital photo intervention. It's about to begin. There are a couple things that you're going to want to do to get prepared. You're going to want to download GIMP if you haven't already. It's at gimp.org. Get your camera or your phone ready. Remember, if you're using a camera, if you don't have a USB cord or some way to plug the camera into your computer, it's going to be useless. So in that case, just use a phone so that you can get your pictures onto your computer. Make sure you have your USB cord handy. If you don't have a USB cord, you can upload pictures to your computer by emailing them from your phone. And number 4, today you're going to be putting on your shoes and jacket because you're going outside to shoot some street photography. So our tutorial objectives today are to submit the 8.02 assignments 7 and 8. Just a quick announcement, check your email. I sent a progress report. Your extra credit on that progress report was not tallied in, so you'll have to manually add that extra credit into your score. It has been updated, however, in the gradebook, so if you check in the online high school gradebook, your score in there is accurate. Looking at the Utah Visual Arts Standards, Standard 1 making. So we are creating visual art. We'll be taking photographs and manipulating those photographs in GIMP. We'll be converting color photos to black and white, adjusting brightness and contrast, and cropping. We'll be using the art elements and principles. We've talked about the rule of thirds, so as you're taking your photographs, be mindful of that rule of thirds. That creates a more interesting composition, and principles of design that you've learned about in your lessons. Standard 3, expressing. So you are going to try to create meaning in your visual art. We'll talk about that. The type of content that you'll be creating, specifically in street photography, and we're also going to be doing parts of the whole. And contextualizing should always be a part of the artistic process. You're always looking for ways to align your works of art with other things. So that could be, in this case, geography for street photography or personal experience. So be thinking about the impact visual art has on life outside of school. If your photographs were published, how would they impact the viewers who saw them? So let's take a look at 8.02 assignment 7 first. And let's ask this question: what is street photography? I want you to select all that apply. A, subjects in candid or not posed situations within public spaces. B, mirror images of society, displaying unmanipulated scenes. C, the subjects are unaware that they're being observed and photographed. D, contrived, which also means artificial or unrealistic street scenes that reflect the ideals of society. Choose all of these that apply. And the correct answer is A, B, and C. Street photography. This is when you kind of sneak out with your camera and you try to shoot pictures of scenes that are naturally occurring, that the subjects in the scenes are not aware that you're there observing them and taking pictures of them. Here are some directions. You're going to find subject matter that makes a statement about the realities of society or the world you live in. So that's our big purpose, to make a reflection of society in your work. The directions: you're going to go shoot that street photography. You look for subjects who are busy in their day-to-day tasks and take candid pictures of them while they're unaware of your presence. You'll choose 3 photos, open them in GIMP, crop them, adjust the brightness and contrast, and convert them to black and white. You'll save, name, and submit your GIMP files with the extension .xcf. And then I want you to evaluate your work. Did converting your images to black and white improve the message you were conveying? All right, so I'm going to show you how to do that now. Okay, so you'll want to plug in your phone or your camera to your USB cord that's attached to your computer. And when you do that, you might get a pop-up dialog box like I do that says open device to view files. This is the option I like to use. If it's your first time plugging your phone into your computer, you'll get a little note down here that says it's finding and downloading the software. You need to wait for that to happen. You also might need to check your phone. Your phone might be prompting you to tell it whether or not you want to give it permission to access the computer, or for the computer rather to access your phone and allow you to view those folders. So you need to respond to the prompt on your phone if you're getting one before they'll show up here. You can open up your folder down here on your taskbar if you have your folders down there, or you can just go ahead and click here and it will automatically open up your device. I think my pictures are saving to my phone card right now, and you're going to look under DCIM. Don't ask me why, but that's where pictures are. And then you'll go under camera, and here are the pictures that I took. I'm going to go ahead and copy them all. So I'm going to click on the first one, hold down the shift button, and click on the last one. You'll notice that selected the first, last, and everything in between. I can right click and I can either cut or copy them. I'm going to cut them because I really don't need them on my phone. And I'm going to go over to pictures where I have my digital photo folder already saved in my demos. And I'm going to go new folder. I'm going to call this 8.02. And this is street photography and parts of the whole. So I've got two different assignments that are going to be going in there. Double click on that, right click, and paste all of your images in. Once they're in there, you're going to want to name them. So I'm just going to click, click. It's not a fast double click, just a click, click. And this one's going to be called speaker 1. Click, click. Speaker 2, idea. Once I've got them all saved, and I could have easily deleted the ones I didn't want to use. Now I'm going to just take the first one, double click it, and it's going to open up my Windows Live photo gallery, and I'll be able to rotate them. So rotate and then move to the next photo. Rotate, next, rotate, next. Okay, so they're all rotated. I'm going to go ahead and close it, and you can see that on my computer my thumbnails show that they're rotated. In case you didn't know, you also have this option up here to make extra large thumbnails if you want to see them a little bit closer up, and then you can kind of decide which ones you're going to use and which ones you're not going to use. And you could already start deleting the ones that you won't be using, like this one. I don't think I'm going to use that one. So now that you've got them saved to your computer, well, that was one way. If you didn't have a USB cord and you're emailing them to yourself, pay attention to this next part because I'm going to show you how to find them in your email. So go into your email. Here I've got some photos that I've just emailed myself. And all you're going to do is right click on your images and you'll save the image as. And when you do that, normally it brings up your box. There you go. There's 8.02 street photography. And then I could name it right here. Practice. I'll just put email, download, and then click save. And you would just do that for all of the images that you were planning on using. Save each of them. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. All right, so the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to open up GIMP on your taskbar at the bottom or on your desktop, and if not, you can go in here. You might find that it's right there in your list of commonly used programs, or you might have to search for it. You can just type in GIMP here in the search bar and it comes up at the top. Click on it there. Sorry about all that noise. And here it is. So once you're in GIMP, you can just go ahead and file open. Go with this image right here. I'm gonna go ahead and open it. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell, but there was this little bottle here, and it was the subject of my street photography. I thought it was really interesting that there was just a bottle left in the street. I'm going to try cropping it. So this is the crop tool right here. It looks like an X-Acto knife, and I'm gonna see if I can get some more detail. Now, I gotta tell you, I'm loving the details on my truck. I'm bumming that I can't see that bottle too well. So let's just see if cropping it down a little bit helps to bring my bottle into focus. Now, once I've selected an area, I can grab the corners and I can drag those around a little bit and readjust. Just make sure you're grabbing the corners. So maybe I can get my bottle a little closer into view. Now remember the rule of thirds. So I want my bottle to be on my thirds line, right? So how am I gonna accomplish that? Maybe I need to bring this up a little bit more so that my bottle's on the bottom third. I think that's gonna work. Click in the middle and it crops it for you. And now I can go ahead and zoom in a little bit. But before I do anything else, I'm gonna go ahead and save. Make sure if you have any other programs open on your computer that you've saved all of them, so if the computer crashes, it doesn't cause a problem. You're gonna go save as, and I've already got it called bottled 4, but I'm just gonna call this bottle final or bottle street photography. Okay, and I wanna make sure it's in the right folder. It's in digital photo, it's in my demos, and it's under the right folder. So it's got the .xcf extension at the end. Do not erase that. If you erase that, you're basically saving this as nothing that's readable by any computer, not even your own. Your own computer won't even be able to open up your own work. So click save. And now I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in. This is your zoom tool, okay? Click on that and you'll notice there's a little plus sign, okay? And if you hold down the shift key, nope, not the shift key, the control key, that plus will turn into a minus. It's not doing that on my screen because making a video takes up so much of my memory, it won't switch it over. But minus will make it, or control will make it smaller. Look for the little minus sign instead of the plus sign, and then shift again, or just clicking on it without any buttons held down will make it bigger. So there's my image now, or I can go to view, zoom, fit image, and window for sure does it. There's my little bottle. That's the subject matter. So we talked about the rule of thirds in our other one. We can grab these guides and pull them over. So I'm just mentally dividing my page into thirds. We're gonna do that vertically, and we're gonna do that horizontally. So here's my thirds. Oh, that wheel well lines up really nicely. Whoops, don't grab your picture. Control Z if you accidentally grab your picture, not your guide. So I've got a really nice line up here with my rule of thirds, and my bottle is in that bottom third quadrant. Maybe I could, you know, move over a little bit, but I'm liking all of these details. I don't want to lose that perspective that I have, that I know exactly what type of truck I'm behind. I'm liking the fact that in this middle third, I've got my mountains, and then my top third, I've got the sky. So it's divided up really well. Now, I'm not seeing my bottle very well. It's not popping out. And so let's go ahead and go to the colors. We'll look at the brightness and contrast of it, and let's see if we can make it pop a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and just adjust the contrast. Already, boom, I can see the shadow of the bottle a lot better now. And let's just play around a little bit. I'm getting a little more blues in the sky. I'm getting more detail. I'm liking that. The yellow on that wheel hub, the wheel, I'm not sure what that thing is, that flap is popping out to me a little bit more. I like that. And I can click on this preview and it'll show me the before and after, but I can also just click OK and then go Control Z to see the before and Control Y to go back. So Control Z is undo, Control Y is redo. I'm loving that. It looks fantastic. If I wanted to do some color balance work, maybe I think that I could use a little more yellow. Nah, I don't like that. But you're welcome to play around with your color balance. Okay, you don't have to keep those settings. You can just reset it to 0. Okay, or you can just cancel it. So didn't care for that too much. There's other tools in here. There's a colorize tool. So this is gonna change the hue of the entire image. So maybe you wanna play around with colorization. You might have done that in another, look at that, that blue looks cool. Then you can also play with saturation. Saturation, if you remove this, if you lower the saturation, you're basically removing the color. So the more saturated something is, the more vivid the color is. So you could increase the saturation, you could decrease it. And that's another way to make things black and white. So if you remember, the assignments said to change it to black and white. So this colorizing is one way to do that. So you can play around with the lightness there and all of that. So using the saturation tool, that's one way to do it. I'm gonna cancel this. Back to my color. The other way to do it is image, I believe, mode, grayscale. And now it's black and white. Okay, so I need to go back to my brightness and contrast. And I need to adjust that again, because once I've changed it to black and white, that changes things significantly for me. Things aren't looking exactly the same as they did before once they go to black and white. So I need to adjust my contrast and everything because I want to get some detail. I liked the detail here. And I'm thinking that's probably going to look pretty good. I'm going to go okay, and then I'll do Control Z. There was my before, and there was after, before, after, before, after. I'm just kind of liking the way my bottle pops because some of the detail is washed out up here, so my eye's not as drawn up there as it was here. You'll notice I'm getting a lot more focus up here, and now when I changed that, so it took less focus off of up here, and it grounds me and brings my eye down here to my focal point more. So that's my street photography. It's a direct reflection, a mirror image of society. How often is it that we see plastic bottles lying around? And there it is off in the distance. So street photography, remember, is capturing a candid moment. This cat has no idea that I'm taking a picture of it. I'm gonna grab my X-Acto knife and I'm gonna crop this down and see if I might be able to capture this cat in its moment. I don't know if I will, but we can certainly try. And you can adjust this. I love that light coming through. And I sort of just want to get rid of the truck and just have this be a surreal moment about the cat. Now remember I talked about not having the horizon line right there in the middle. So I'm going to see if I can bring this up so that my mountains are in the middle, the street is down here, the sky is up high. Does that look like it follows the rule of thirds a little better? Okay, I'm gonna crop it by clicking in the middle. And I'm gonna go ahead and go File, Save As, and this is gonna be my cat. Street photography. Okay, and it's in the right folder, click Save. Okay, now I can go ahead and view, and I can zoom in to make it fit the window. And you know, my phone camera is not that great. If you have a better camera, you can capture it, but remember, this was me just impromptu catching a moment. So to convert that, it's just gonna be image, mode, grayscale, colors, brightness and contrast. Let's see if I can make it even more interesting by adding some contrast. Do you think the cat kind of stands out a little bit in the image? I think it stands out great. Ooh, I'm liking that dramatic effect. So I'm gonna click OK. But I have this history over here to the right, and you can find it by going edit, undo history, and that will pop up. And so you can see this is where I'm at right here. And this right here was where I was at when I converted the image to grayscale. So my Control Z and my Control Y aren't working because I'm making a video. It's just sucking up my computer's memory. I can click save and hopefully that will help, but I can go back and forth here and look at the difference. Look at how gorgeous the contrast is there. I love it. So this one actually turned out really nice. I'm gonna click save. And that's my street photography. You're gonna do that to 3 photos. So ideally, if you could find street photography that has people in it, that would be ideal. Some people doing something and they have no idea that you're watching. That would be awesome. On my street, it was pretty dead. Nobody was out, so I couldn't capture that. Okay, so in that last little bit, we talked about how to save images to your computer, and I just kind of went over that again here. And also saving GIMP files. Just a reminder that you want to make sure that your file is named well and has an extension of .xcf at the end. Without the XCF, your computer won't be able to read the file. Mine won't be able to open it. All right, so that brings us to our next assignment, the 8.02, assignment 8. The purpose of it, this is a parts of the whole assignment. So do not photograph the overall thing, okay? The purpose is to focus on the details. And an even better purpose would be to make it enigmatic. Say that word, enigmatic. That also means puzzling, okay? So it's like a puzzle, and you want to challenge the viewer to figure out what thing this detail belongs to. That makes it fun for the viewer. So make sure when you're shooting this picture, because you're shooting apart, you don't want to get so close to it that it's blurry, because you can stand back far enough away that the picture is crisp, because whatever that part is that you're going to be focusing on, you'll be able to crop that in GIMP, okay? So stand back far enough away from the object that you can take a crisp, sharp photo of the part you will emphasize. 2, choose 3 parts of the whole photos. So you're gonna do this 3 times. You're gonna crop each photo in GIMP, so the part of the whole is the focal point. You're going to adjust the brightness and contrast and make any other modifications that will emphasize your part of the whole. 5, you'll save, name, and submit your GIMP file. So let's take a look at that now. So I've got GIMP open, and I think, oh, I've also got my bird. So I think I'm gonna do my bird. And the first thing I need to do is just crop it down. So I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in first, and I wanna play around with where do I want, whoa, that's too far. Control, I'm gonna zoom out. Ideally, you want it to be crisp, but you know, my camera isn't that fantastic. So I'm gonna go ahead and, I did like how that looked when I was zoomed way in now. So I'm gonna grab my crop tool. If your computer starts to act up, just save. I like to save a lot. Bird, part of the whole. Okay. And now my crop tool is working good. And so I can kind of pick the composition that I'm wanting to create. And I want it to be enigmatic. I want my viewer to be challenged to figure out what it is that I've taken a photo of. And it might be too obvious if I put too much of it in there. So maybe I'm going to do it a little bit like that. It might be too much of the mouth. I think I like that right there. I might be able to go up a little higher. I'm thinking of my rule of thirds right now. I like that. What about you? Do you like more? Oh, I almost wanted just to do a perfect square. The only thing I don't like about that is the location of this dot right here is kind of being not quite with the rule of thirds. I know that seems a little crazy, but it does make the composition far more interesting when you're following that. This is in the intersection of the thirds line, and I do like that better. I'm gonna make this a little taller and maybe, oh, already clicked inside, so I'm going with it. So here it is. All right, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna zoom in some more. I'll click File, Save, and zoom in so I can see it. And so for this one, I am going to go into my colors. I'm gonna go into brightness and contrast, and probably gonna dull down my brightness and bring out my contrast. And I'm liking that a lot. What else could I do to make this interesting? Well, let me show you a couple of other tools that you can use. You also have this magic wand or fuzzy select tool. And you don't have to do this, but if you would like, you could go in and you can click on a color that you like. Look at that. It's clicking on all of that orange that's in there. And if I hold down my shift means add, and I can click some more and notice it will start grabbing a hold of all of my orange. Love it. Okay, so now that that's all selected, one thing to keep in mind is I was using a threshold of 15. 15 is a good threshold. If it's not selecting enough, increase your threshold. If it's selecting too much, decrease your threshold with these little buttons right here. But this was perfect for me, holding down the shift key. If there's anything that you want to deselect, hold down the control key and it deselects that. So you can also use the lasso tool. So I'm gonna click save, and I'm gonna grab my lasso tool, which is right next. This is called free select. And I'm not wanting this area down here in it, so I'm gonna just hold down control. Control is gonna subtract it, so I'm just gonna circle the area that I wanna subtract, and now it's gone. Pretty cool. If I wanted to add more using the lasso tool, I could hold down my shift button and I could go over here and I could add all of this other stuff. Just remember, you have to come to your start point. So now I've got this area and this area right now that are selected. You can see these marching ants. The marching ants, the area inside of the marching ants is what is selected. Okay, so I'm gonna go up to my colors and my brightness and contrast, and I'm gonna increase my contrast and watch how it affects those two areas. Pretty cool. So that's something I could do. Maybe I want to accentuate that a little bit more. So I'm going to click OK. So we could get rid of these edges here with the smudge tool or with the blur tool. So maybe I will use the blur tool. You're just going to bring your cursor over to your canvas, and you're going to get this little, you can see the size of the brush. I am just going to click, hold, and drag all the way down along the edge of this, and that is going to blur that edge for me so it's not so stark. Save. Blur the edge some more. If that didn't quite do it, you can kind of go back and forth. There. I like that better. File, save. And then over here, I'm just gonna click and hold and drag it. I'm gonna go all the way along that line. Smoothly. There. And then save. I'm done. It's my final product. Love the way that turned out. Can you picture that on a large canvas hanging in your living room? Remember, you've got that undo history back here, so you can go back and see the different steps that you were on. If you want to go back to an earlier step and you want to start all over there, all you have to do is click on these and just delete them. Just click, delete, 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 delete until you get back to the place where you wanted to be. Or you can just start right there and start working from there. So the undo history is pretty cool. That's under Edit, Undo History. You can also just use Control-Z to get back to where you wanted to be. So that's some fun tools that you've learned. You're going to do that to 2 other parts of the whole. You're going to make sure that you save them with good names, that they have .xcf, and then you're going to upload all of those files to the Dropbox. Here are some more cool parts of the whole photos that I found. Notice the use of the rule of thirds, contrast. This photo uses color to create emphasis on the parts of the whole and the rust. Not to mention texture. There's a lot of texture in this image, and there's a lot of line. This is a fun composition. This is also a great illustration of space, positive and negative space. So the matchbooks are the positive space, and this background, that's your negative space. But you can also kind of flip it in your head, and sometimes that negative space almost seems to be the subject that's being emphasized, that shape. I love the use of color and texture in this parts of the whole, and just giving us a tiny glimpse of her beautiful smile intrigues and enthralls the viewer to want to know more about this woman. And here is a very sweet composition of parts of a baby being enclosed in a heart-shaped hands. That's sweet. This is adorable. We're just seeing the top part of this kid and looking at how dirty he is. We are only imagining how this kid got so dirty. So images that make you think are what we're looking for. This is creating meaning. This is creating context or substance in art. Make the viewer curious. Make the viewer want to know more. And that concludes the 8.02 assignment 7 and 8 tutorial. So be sure to turn those in today. It won't take very long, and I'll see you in class on Friday.